Welcome to EduRev. I'm your personal study buddy, and today I'm taking you through a concept that honestly used to give me so many headaches: active and passive voice. But don't worry, we're gonna master this whole thing together. Whenever I sit down to study for English grammar exams, I absolutely have to have a clear system. So today, I'm sharing my personal foolproof method for mastering sentence transformations. By the time we finish up here, you're going to be able to spot and swap voices instantly and with total confidence. Here's our roadmap for today. First, welcome to voice basics. Second, my rules for changing voice. Third, how I navigate tenses. Fourth, tricky sentences and modals. And finally, a chapter summary and next steps. Welcome to Voice Basics. I am so excited to share the fundamental building blocks of voice with you right now because getting this basic foundation right makes literally everything else a total breeze. What's really interesting is how we actually define voice. I personally like to think of voice as a spotlight on a stage. In the active voice, the subject is the star. They're the one doing the action. But in the passive voice, the subject is just the target receiving the action. The spotlight shifts completely away from the doer right onto the receiver. This brilliantly illustrates that shift. Take a look at the active sentence. Mohan played football. Mohan is the star of the sentence. But watch what happens when I change it to passive. I physically move the object, football, to the very front of the sentence. Now football is our new subject. Football was played by Mohan. Notice how Mohan got pushed all the way to the back with that little word by. Section 2. My rules for changing voice. The absolutely crucial point here is knowing exactly how to make that shift every single time. I rely on a simple checklist every time I encounter a sentence, and I'm going to share it with you right now so you can use it too. Okay, here's my personal 5-step checklist. First, the object becomes the subject. Second, I add the preposition by right before the doer. Third, I always change the main verb to its past participle form. Fourth, I add an appropriate to be verb. And fifth, I modify any auxiliary verbs if I need to. Now, I gotta tell you, steps 3 and 4 are my absolute secret weapons. Whenever I see a to be verb paired up with a past participle, I immediately know I'm looking at the passive voice. It's a dead giveaway. Now, when I push the doer to the end of the sentence, I have to make sure the pronouns actually match up. I always remember to swap these out. If the active sentence starts with I turn it into by me in the passive. We turns into by us. She into by her, and they into by them. It's just a super quick mechanical swap, but it keeps everything grammatically perfect. Section 3. How I navigate tenses. Tense changes can feel pretty overwhelming at first. I know they definitely did for me. But I've got a really straightforward system to keep them perfectly aligned without breaking a sweat. So when I'm dealing with simple tenses, I just make sure to maintain the original timeline. I do this by merely swapping out the correct form of the to be verb. For the present tense, he kills a snake becomes a snake is killed. Past tense, he killed a snake turns into a snake was killed. And for the future, will write becomes will be written. Do you notice a pattern there? The main verb is always stuck in the past participle, which means the to be verb does absolutely all the heavy lifting to show us the time. Now, for progressive or continuous tenses, I use a really specific trick. Whenever I see an ing action, like singing or writing, I immediately know I need to insert the word being into my passive sentence. So, is singing becomes is being sung. Was writing becomes was being written. That little word being, that is your anchor for progressive tenses. Perfect tenses follow a very similar logic. My go-to move here is simply adding the word been right before the past participle. Have watered transforms into have been watered. Had helped becomes had been helped. It keeps the perfect tense structure completely intact and makes sure absolutely nothing gets lost in translation. Section 4. Tricky sentences and modals. Alright, now I need to prepare you for the curveballs. These are the special exceptions and unique sentence types that used to trip me up big time. But once you see the patterns, they're actually a lot of fun to solve. I actually really love imperative sentences. Commands, requests, or pieces of advice. When I need to change these into passive voice, I rely entirely on two favorite formulas. The first is starting the sentence with let, followed by the object, then be, and the past participle. The second is the you are requested, ordered, or advised to format. Let's see how this actually looks in practice. Let's read through these examples together. If a sentence commands shut the door, I apply my first formula. Let the door be shut. If I see the word please, like in please post this letter, I immediately use the second formula. You are requested to post this letter. And for a strong piece of advice like never give up hope, I just go right back to my let formula. Let hope never be given up. Questions used to seriously intimidate me, but I found a great way to tackle them. I simply place the to be verb in front of my new subject, making sure it still sounds like an inquiry. So, do you love him? Becomes, is he loved by you? Notice how is sits right at the front. And if you have a who question, like who wrote this speech, I always change it to by whom was this speech written? Here's another golden rule of mine. I never separate a verb from its preposition. If the active sentence is she objected to my proposal, that to has got to stay glued to objected. So the passive is my proposal was objected to by her. And for modals like can, may, or should, I simply add be before the past participle. You can do this work neatly becomes this work can be done by you. The last tricky category I want to introduce you to is quasi-passives. These are verbs relating to senses like taste, smell, or look. I handle these by slightly expanding the phrasing. If I see, this mango tastes sweet, I transform it by saying, this mango is sweet when tasted. Because, well, unfortunately, mangoes can't taste themselves. Or, the rose smells sweet becomes, the rose is sweet when smelt. It's a very unique structure for sure, but it captures the passive essence perfectly. Section 5. Chapter Summary and Next Steps. Congratulations on reaching the end of the lesson. You've learned the absolute hardest parts of sentence transformations. Now, I'm going to recap the most vital rules we've gone over together so you are totally ready for your exams. Let's lock in my core first-person strategies. 1. The object of your active sentence always becomes your new subject. 2. Always change your main verb to its past participle form. 3. Use the exact correct form of the verb to be based on your timeline. 4. Introduce the original doer at the very end with the preposition by. And 5. Keep your prepositions tightly attached to their verbs and always rely on the let formula for commands. If you want to keep mastering grammar and unlocking these secrets with me, make sure to download the EduRev app today. It's available right now in the Play Store and the iOS App Store, packed with way more content to help you succeed. Keep studying hard, and I'll see you next time.